later, Roman and Heyman start talking, and he asks, like, can you believe him? Roman says that to Heyman and asks for his opinion, basically. And that's when Heyman says that he never liked Sammy and was never really on board with him joining forces with the Bloodline,
Great,
but
great
that
scene play.
because he supports his tribal chief, then he was like, okay, well, that's fine. But he said, as far as going forward, it seems like it would be a better idea to have Sammy on their side, defending them, particularly before the match at the Royal Rumble against Kevin Owens, than kicking him out basically now and having him fight against them, especially as they lead up to the Royal Rumble. So then Heyman goes and gets Sammy, says Roman wants to speak to you. Sammy gets back there, and Roman just goes on about how he has a temper and basically apologizes to Sammy for the lack of communication and says, like, okay, I get it. Like, you just wanted to be a part of the team. I just wanted to be in the know. And Sammy thanks Roman for understanding, tells him, go, I don't want to be here. Go and get the plane, the jet ready, and blah, 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 because they were going to go out and do the contract signing, which became this whole other debacle.
And we'll wait for that to talk
Yeah.
about. But
Yeah.
from this point, when he brings him in, and this is where the master manipulator character Roman's doing is so good. Back to the word choices he's using and the way he's just hitting these key words so that it reassures Sammy that it's just my temper, and he said, mentioning his temper. Well, he had Jay use Sammy as his guy to calm his temper. That's going to maybe signal to Sammy, oh, maybe I'm going to be his temper guy. And that's my role. Like, he's just, and not just one example of the many things he said, but that stands out to me that he's using these things that, to keep him in. And this is where the story gets so good with this. And it's unbelievable how they gave you a little bit of insight, or gave us, excuse me, of a little bit of insight with the reasoning behind why did Roman say what he said with their his conversation with Paul Heyman. And it's finally giving us that, okay, all right, we're getting that signal, it's coming to an end soon, we don't know when, but it's coming to an end. And that's all we want, I would say. And that's why the storytelling, the writing in this, everything is going so well, because they're not showing too much. They're giving us exactly what we need to be doing, exactly what we're doing right now. Just kind of giving our own thoughts about what the next step is. And that's exactly what the job was for them to do.
Well, and I think that it is one of those things that we're going to keep going back to, all of the things that have led up to this moment. So it's like, okay, so originally they didn't want Sammy, and Roman was just kind of like treating him, like the little brother that just kept following you around, and you were just so annoyed with him.
Yeah,
and then he finally caves and lets him in. And then, there's all these instances where he's getting annoyed and lashing out at him. So it's like, okay, what is going on here? What's the underlying issue? Because it's like, this isn't just coming out of nowhere. So it makes you wonder, at least for me, it's made me wonder, like, okay, so was this all a manipulation tactic to begin with? Like, were they ever really in on Sammy being with them? Or was it just like, okay, well, I don't want this person to try and get my title, so having Sammy around helps be a buffer or something, or if there was like a bigger picture involved with why they were bringing Sammy in. Like, that's at least where my mind goes, because it doesn't, I don't know, it just, there's something going on, and it's hard for me to put a finger on it. I mean, not to mention, I feel like the creative team doesn't even know what's going on, because they had the acknowledgement ceremony planned for Raw 30 on Monday, tomorrow. And then they abruptly canceled that and are now having the trial of Sami Zayn. And they're like, due to the events of Friday Night SmackDown, we're gonna have the trial of Sami. And I'm like, I feel like they just don't know where they're
No,
going
no,
yet.
no, because and
It
I would
makes
agree
hold
with
on.
you.
Well, it makes sense, but I'm saying like then everyone, when the acknowledgement ceremony was announced, like everyone was excited about who was going to be there and what if The Rock was there and what if this, and then you're like, oh, by the way, LOL, we're just joking. So that's what I mean. Like, there's a little
No,
bit just. I mean, there were
they
people who saying,
mention
should I
all the
go?
no, they mention all Bloodline members will be there.
Oh, they said that. Okay, so but
So that's
okay.
my thinking, is that because all Bloodline members are gonna be there of
So
the
what?
Anoa'i family, it's more of a, all right, they're gonna do this acknowledgement ceremony, which when you heard of acknowledgement ceremony, like what the hell is an acknowledgement ceremony? Where now it's, I think that was in place is a throw off, as a red herring, and the trial of Sami Zayn was gonna be the real event planned for that night. And that's where, they couldn't announce it, obviously, because of SmackDown. But now with this shit going on, and this is where we could see, The Rock come out or another member come out, and it's gives them more of a reason to, and a better, plans for the future, I'd say, to set up matches and whatnot with them. So I see the reasoning, and I do like that now. I'm gonna be a believer who says that I don't think the acknowledgement ceremony was ever gonna happen, and that this was the initial plan to begin with.